Man, I narrowly made it out of there alive. It looks like after I accidentally burned down that 1980s Midwestern house, that somehow the Soviets declared war on the US, and now it's a nuclear wasteland that only the likes of Fallout New Vegas has ever seen before. I always hate it when that happens, you know, when you accidentally cause a nuclear war, but that's besides the point. What really matters is My Little Pony. And to get into the mood, I guess, I also have this. A Pip-Boy that I made when I was 8. When did Fallout 4 come out? Minus that by 19 years old. That's when I made this thing. And I'm scared I'm gonna break it by pushing it onto my arm. Ugh. Ugh. Anyways, don't laugh at it. I tried when I was 8 years old. But while we're on the topic of, you know, time-traveling buffoonery like me, I feel as if I must ask. My favorite TV show, which as of by now has been completely wiped from the timeline. Do you see it spit? This projector is giving off heat, by the way. Like, I'm scared that light bulb is gonna blow up during the middle of recording. My favorite TV show, which has been wiped from the timeline currently, never states exactly what year it is. They might, you know, use a different calendar system because Celestia and Luna raise and lower the moon, which might throw things in a, you know, whack, and that would therefore make this entire video pointless. But I digress. I think that everyone who has watched the show has, at some point, asked themselves when it takes place. Because before G5 or Equestria Girls, it's painfully apparent that the show isn't up to date with our timeline at all. It's a different universe, right? I feel like you can see how much I'm spitting because of the frickin' light here. Shadow puppets. Hello, Kermit the Frog here. Someday we'll find it. Sorry. So this show isn't up to date, and it's also wiped from the timeline. Sorry, I'll fix that, but right now I need to talk about this show. Upon first viewing, it kind of looks like this show takes place in medieval times, which I wouldn't fault you for thinking. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the corner. That is a timer of what year I currently think it is. I think that will stay there for the entire video. I'm not sure. I might remove it. So without further ado, let's get into exactly when I think MLP takes place in. G4 at least. Like I said upon first glance, MLP looks borderline medieval. I mean, Ponyville is made of thatch roofs, dirt paths, wells, this one-story schoolhouse. I don't know why I said one story, I meant one room schoolhouse. And even in the distance, you can even see a giant city castle with a princess in it. Not a queen, a princess. That's very important. I will never mention it again, but princess, not queen. So it's pretty safe to say 1400s, medieval. It's medieval. It's very medieval. But what if I told you you're wrong? It's not medieval. It's not even the 1400s or 1500s or 1600s. It's actually much, much later than that. Oh my god, that light is blinding me. Because in season 1, we get trains. There's even a train in the intro. Besides trains in this franchise looking like they're trying to sell toys, which they are, this can actually give us some pretty big hints as to roughly where MLP takes place in. That's right, it's time for a history lesson, wink. The steam engine was invented in the 1700s to pump water out of mine shafts. I'm not even joking. The water is slowly rising. There are thousands of tons of boulder and dirt above you. The water is now at your knees. So in order to fix this problem, they made a steam engine to do the manual labor for them, which, to be fair, that's pretty funny. I don't think anyone really knows who invented the steam engine, I'm gonna be honest. Anyways, some smart head a couple years later came along and took that steam engine, put it on wheels, train. So what does that mean for MLP? We're in the 1800s, baby! Or maybe earlier, as the first time we see a train outside of the intro, it's being pulled by stallions. Why are they doing that? Why are they pulling this train? I don't get it. Is this the animators trying to be cute somehow? Or are they hinting at a much bigger and grander, deeper timeline that all encompasses this world and makes people like me pull my hair out in stress? They're probably trying to be cute, honestly. I don't think it's that deep. I'm really hunching over while doing this. Oh, my buttocks hurt on this step stool. I don't know why I said it like that. Step stool. Yeehaw, I love my step stool. In that same episode, for some reason, we're also shown that Twilight Sparkle knows how to operate an oil lamp. And Twilight Sparkle is an upper-class unicorn that lives in a very sophisticated high-rise city, Canterlot, which we mentioned with a princess, not queen. So an upper-class unicorn who's lived in Canterlot her entire life knows how to operate an oil lamp. Either that's because she read it in a book, or what I think is more likely is she simply just had to know how to use an oil lamp because that's how she grew up, is in a society that relied on oil lamps. Do you see where I'm getting at? Kermit's back. Hello. English is my first language. Can you believe that? So great. We're rooted in the 1800s very comfortably. And let me get you some information that might convince you further. Oh my god, this light is so bright. We're shown multiple times that typewriters and manual printing presses, not automatic printing presses, manual, like, printing presses, are used quite commonly. And oh, are those light bulbs in my video? Okay, fine. Light bulbs were made in 1879, so late 1870s. Update that counter. You know, if we're in the late 1800s, wouldn't there be more cars around? We see taxis, don't get me wrong, but they're pulled by ponies. So surely there were more cars around at the turn of the century, right? Well, the first car goes back to 1886, which is honestly a lot later than I thought they were. I thought cars were around a lot earlier than that, and they might have been, because the first car is credited to Carl Benz, and yes, before you ask, that Benz, Mercedes-Benz. Although the guy's name was on the patent for a car, that doesn't necessarily mean that he invented it. He was just the first one to put his name on it. I'm spitting. And apparently there's a lot of infighting and arguing about who really invented the first car, because the first car was really just an amalgamation of a bunch of different countries trying to fight for the title, right? So this guy made the transmission, that guy made the Cadillac converter, right? Put them together, you get Benz. Back to Equestria, we see that Flim and Flam in the season 2 episode, and one of the best episodes, roll out this bad boy. It's called the Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000. That's something I won't get tired of saying and will refuse to repeat for the rest of this video. This is really regarded as high and fancy technology at the time, and is presented as something that, you know, the common pony doesn't have access to. Because when they hear it rumbling, they don't even know how to react to it. Honestly, Flim and Flam are just the Carl Benz of this world. All entrepreneurs suck. Look at Steve Jobs, that guy sucked. And one more thing I would like to really quickly add before I wrap things up is take a really quick look at Manhattan. It's obviously based off of a real-life city, and it's heavily inspired by the 1920s. Actually, this is something I mentioned in a previous video, but Discord teleports Big Mac and Spike to what I can only describe as a speakeasy, or like some kind of 1920s party. I prefer to think it's a speakeasy because that would imply, subtly imply, that Equestria is in the middle of its prohibition. I don't do with what you want of that information. Also, before I continue, Coco Pommel, the character, just really quickly, is just the 1920s. Just look at her design. That's just 1920s. Update that counter. And finally, it's almost over. We're gonna wrap things up in a big bow. For the last bit of time-setting evidence, and I don't think we're gonna get much closer to an answer than this, it's the season 1 episode Feeling Pinky Keen. There's a scene in this episode where Twilight hooks Pinky up to what I can only describe as an electric chair. On her helmet is about 1,000 different light bulbs of varying shapes and sizes. Like I said earlier, light bulbs were invented in the 1870s, so it still lines up with the timeline of 1920s America. I don't know why I said America. This is a Canadian show. So Twilight turns on this machine, all the light bulbs start flashing different colors, but hold on. Those light bulbs are really tiny. I mean, really tiny. These ponies are meant to only be slightly taller than a dog, so these light bulbs, these I thought were fluorescent light bulbs, are really, really, really tiny. And they're also red, blue, and green. So that would mean that these aren't light bulbs. They're actually LEDs, which is fine. I mean, that's fine. LEDs, sure. So with all that taken into account, that means that this show, MLP, takes place in 1962. 1962? 1962 is so late. Don't update that counter just yet. Stop. And wait, aren't those blue LEDs? If you've watched Vertiseum's most recent video, or as of recording most recent video, you'll know why that's a big deal. Blue LEDs weren't viable until 1992. Stop! That's way too far. Blue LEDs needed a very specific mixture, which were apparently very hard to nail down. It took a single guy with a resolve of steel in order to invent the blue LED. And like I said, 1990 freaking 2. And hold on, I just remembered the character I forgot in my previous video that a lot of people got mad at me in the comments for forgetting. I'm sorry. Vinyl Scratch. She's a DJ. DJs, look at this thing. That's not 1920s technology. 1980s at the least. So when does this take place? When does MLP take place? Honestly, there's not really an answer. I'm sorry for leading you on, but there's not really an answer. I'm going to throw out my own personal headcanon and say that MLP takes place in an alternate universe to our own. Duh. MLP takes place in a universe where electricity really wasn't needed. Equestria is a society that literally controls every little thing with magic. They don't need electricity for anything they do. The Industrial Revolution wasn't even really a big thing for them. It might just been just like some advancements, right? But in some fields like music and hospitals, those things needed to advance in order to save patients. It was a need. Of course, hospitals are going to use as much technology as they can to make sure they don't kill their patient. So in conclusion, I'm going insane. Did I break that? No, okay, we're good. We're good. I didn't break it. And if you'll excuse me, I need to figure out a way how to get out of this Fallout heck. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be stuck in 2024 Fallout anymore. So, I'm going to discover a new way to time travel and get out of here. I'll see you in the next video. Where exactly am I?